Welcome to this emergency live stream. We're going to start doing these more and more. In fact, I've got, oh no, we don't have our faces. This is the first time we're doing one of these. Welcome, Rukshan. You can fix your camera live on air. So this is some pretty big breaking news that we're going to stream live here. The actual press conference is in about just over
2 p.m, right?
Yep, so less than half an hour. But we'll go through everything we have so far, all the information, the press release, plus the new CCTV that's available. I guess while people are bringing them in, guys, like every live stream, we want to do more of these as news breaks, not just our show. Obviously, we have the show tonight. So share it everywhere. Better for people to watch it with us and break it down with us, I believe. No, Rukshan, without the spin or with the good spin. Spin.
I think so. No, I think it's good. Like we can get a lot of, especially starting earlier, get a bit of the background. Press conference comes in, we can all listen to it together. Then people will have questions. We can, talk about some of those questions because I'm sure things will come up. And this is one of these stories that, especially in Australia, at the height of when a lot of these things were happening, was a major story. It was actually a story around the world.
Yep.
And a lot of people have been asking for months and months and months now for answers. And to have today this kind of bombshell drop that the police are going to hold a press conference. We have this footage. We have these potential arrests linked to maybe another fire that they're kind of linking to this. We don't actually know the full details yet. So I think for a lot of people are very interested in the outcome of what the police have to say today. And there'll be a lot of analysis of this following that. So, we're here. We're going to do that with you guys following the press conference as well. And I think this is the way to do news, Harvey.
Absolutely. And people can get involved in the comments. If you're on YouTube, like our normal live streams, you can super chat. We'll go through the super chats maybe at the end, whatever. We'll see how we go. But I'll definitely get through the super chats, whether we do it in middle. Depends how the press conference actually plays out. But I'll just pull them up in a second. For now, what I'll do is I'll play to give people some of the context. I'll play while I'm doing what I'm telling you to do, which is go and share this live stream with anyone you think might be interested. So this is going to be the press conference. It's going to be playing the CCTV. It's going to be unpacking what is actually coming out today. Apparently there are also a wave of arrests. We'll go through it all, but just while I'm sharing it, the thing I'm telling you to do, I'm going to play my confrontation with the Premier. Jacinta Allen, where the day after or 2 days after, from there outside the synagogue. So I'll play that while I'm sharing it, and you are also invited.
Why are you running away from the tough question? Why are you running away? Like a coward. No Jew can believe you're going to keep him safe. You came for a photo op.
Today I spent the entire day at the site of the Melbourne synagogue, which was firebombed overnight. I have a full report coming over the weekend. But for now, I want you to watch and share what happened when the Victorian Premier came shamelessly for a photo op and a press conference at the burnt place of worship, but was met with real journalism. Then make sure to head to protectthejews.com.au and sign my new petition, Standing with the Australian Jewish Community.
What would you say to a big proportion of the Jewish community that blame you personally for not acting on anti-Semitism properly until now? For the last year, we've seen this. We've seen protests outside synagogue. Even in the last week, it's taken a synagogue to be burned down for you to come here and make a statement.
Well, over the past 14 months, we have seen how conflict, and this is something that is conflict over the past 14 months, has brought conflict to the streets of Melbourne, the streets of Sydney, to many parts of the Western world. And my focus over that period of time has been to support members of the Jewish community who I know from speaking to so many personally are grieving that conflict in the Middle East, as so many other people around the world are. So my focus is on the Jewish community, is providing the support. That is why we are here today, pledging that $100,000 commitment to get the ball rolling on rebuilding this place of worship and sending a very clear message, like we are with the legislation that's in the Victorian Parliament, that this sort of evil act has no place here in this state.
Why haven't you done anything for the year and a half till this happened? Why did it have to take a burning of a synagogue?
My focus today is on supporting the Jewish community.
Avi, can I just ask a quick question? Jacinta, you mentioned that you're going to increase police patrols and you're going to increase your presence. Is that not a sign that you've lost control in this state and the Jewish community are now under real threat, and that your government has ultimately failed? And let's be clear, in November 2023, there was an attack in the synagogue, and the Summary Offences Act gave Victoria Police the ability to charge them under that act, a very low threshold, but you didn't use it. And had you done that, we wouldn't be here today. So let's stop with the politics and let's get a short, sharp, straight answer. Have you lost control? Have you lost control, yes or no?
I will take advice from Victoria Police. I will take the advice from the Victoria Police and the Chief Commissioner, who advises me that in terms of acts of violence, they have the tools and the powers to investigate and prosecute people. It would be
you've lost control. You've lost control.
It would be deeply inappropriate.
You played politics, and this is the consequence.
Premier, why should the Jewish community, Premier, why should the Jewish community...
Can we just calm down? Yeah, thank you. Can we just take our time?
Premier...
Excuse me, sir. Thank you.
It's okay. She's the Premier. I think she can handle it. Premier, why should Jews now trust that you're going to keep them safe when you failed a year and a half?
Can you just step
I
back
understand she doesn't want to answer it.
No, the cameras.
I don't know who you are.
Shame on you,
Jacinta.
Well, she knows the story.
Jacinta, we understand the questions got tough, but how can the Jewish community believe that you're going to keep them safe when you failed for a year and a half? Jacinta, we understand it's easier to run away, but what would you say to the Jewish community for them to believe that you could keep them safe since you failed them for a year and a half? Look at that. What are you doing? Why are you blocking my way, mate? Jacinta, why are you running away from the tough question? Why are you running away? Like a coward. No Jew can believe you're going to keep him safe. You came for a photo op. She came here for a photo op. She got the photo op, but members of the Jewish community asked legitimate questions and she failed them. She's not going to keep any Jews safe. She wants to get voted back in. That is the Victorian Premier.
So yeah, that was the day after. I've just put on the screen, I hope my spelling's right because I'm doing 50 things at once, like I'm telling everyone to share.
I was like, this is a good idea because the press conference is actually coming up. So if you guys are just jumping into the live now, we're actually waiting for the Victoria Police press conference to begin, I believe, in about another 20 or so minutes.
We're going to play,
so
the CCTV in a minute. We'll unpack also the news stories and some of the details. But in the meantime, just like I'm trying to do, is share this live stream.
But that video, like that shows you, obviously, it was a kind of an important thing that politicians, everyone kind of came down. You were saying Jacinta Allen came for photo ops. Anthony Albanese, of course, famously came after playing golf or something. He turned up as well. And there's been a lot of commitments made to the community there. And again, I just want to reemphasize, so many questions have been asked now for a long time as to what really happened. So to think that we're getting answers today, I hope it's a bit more of a conclusive type answer and it's not more kind of stuff that leaves people with conspiracies and things up in the air. Yeah, because there was a lot of conspiracy following the bombing. Like, there was
the
a lot
Jews
of...
did it to themselves. Avi,
my favorite
one was actually this one, in which because I interviewed this man who was the one that got tackled by police.
The only thing what upset me, this is from the police. We had a Tsula here around, and my car was parked here. Suddenly from the far there, 5 people with big flashlights screamed, "Police, stop!"
Wait, stop your hands! Stop move!
Now, who said it's police? They didn't wear yellow jackets, they wear black. They came with these big guns. And they came and arrested us. And don't move. I said, you think this look like I did this? We're from Atula, I was inside here.
Don't get him in the car. I'm the one who called. Yeah. Why you guys running? Because I'm scared.
took them a while to realise that we're Jewish and we didn't do this.
It took them a while to realise you're Jewish.
Yeah, it took them a while to realise that, oh yeah, maybe you didn't do it.
What eventually gave it away to the detectives that you're Jewish?
What does it look like?
Avi Mini for Rebel News outside the Adass Israel.
And we're laughing a little bit about that because, you know, he was clearly Jewish, but the point was, now looking back, how long ago was this even? It's because it's happened.
Well, it feels like a lifetime ago. I think at least 6-7 months. Has to be, right?
You know, I was mocking then that the police didn't have any, like, they couldn't even figure out that this guy was Jewish. So, you know, it wasn't so surprising that they still 8 months on don't have, you know, haven't had anything. We've been asking, where are they? What's come of this? You know, it's a pretty serious attack. And
I mean, I went to the site. We've seen the photos, and it was badly burnt out. I think it eventually became classified as a act of domestic terror. Is that correct? Am I?
Yep.
Am I correct? Yeah. So it's an act of domestic terror, and you know, it's an attack on a place of religious worship during a very heightened time in our community, in a predominantly Jewish area of Victoria, and it did feel very targeted at that moment with everything that was going on, and I guess the fear that people felt afterwards in that area. I saw it firsthand when I went to I'm sure we'll watch later when Albanese came down. We were in that area, and a lot of people were actually visibly upset that this had happened, that someone had come to their place of worship and firebombed the place. And I think, you know, at that time, that gentleman you interviewed, he was there because there were people actually inside praying or doing something. So there were, you know, potentially it could have had even more horrific consequences than just the burning of the building. So I think it's a very serious point that the police are holding this press conference, and if it is these individuals, we're not sure. It's all allegations at the moment, and you know, these kind of linked arrests to another fire. Who knows exactly what they're going to say?
But those news stories in a sec.
Yeah, but if they do have concrete evidence of these individuals that we're going to see in the CCTV as well, I think the book should be thrown at them. The full force of the law as it pertains to charges and the criminal code when it comes to domestic terrorism. I believe it's a federal offence, correct?
Yes.
And it must come with, you know, whatever hefty charges that it comes with in a court of law of being found guilty. I think it should be applied to these individuals, because we cannot have a society in Victoria, in Australia, where we have people running around firebombing religious institutions, and there needs to be a clear message sent. I mean, that's my opinion on how this should play out if these individuals were involved and if this is what comes of it.
Absolutely.
The point you're talking about, Ivy, that you didn't actually get to the point, the conspiracy where they were blaming the Jews for it. There was in that video that you're playing, there was a point where someone says, play that point.
Which point? That they said because of the footage in it.
Because the footage in it, he said like he touched the door or something. I can't remember exactly.
This is from the police. We had a tsula here around. Now my car was
parked
like
here.
The ambulance,
from
the far there, 5 people with big flashlights.
I think it was later on. Whatever the conspiracy, they used the clipping from that video.
Yeah, well, they were saying the conspiracy came that because there's this footage, and people assumed because it was in our report that
they didn't wear yellow jackets. They wear black. They came with these big guns.
But the point is, it's really people. There are a lot of people, sadly, in the community who have been spreading a certain perspective because they really, really want it to be. They don't want it to be what it looks like it was from the beginning, what it was obviously from the beginning. They don't want it to be because then it goes against their narrative. So they wanted to blame essentially the victims of it. And the problem was that the state was moving so slowly. I can't believe it's so far. It's been so long since this crime, and we've heard nothing. So today there is a glimmer of hope that we get some answers and that it actually puts to rest some of those conspiracies. We've got about 14 minutes.
Well, there has been a few kind of the police work on this has been funny at times, right? So that whole caravan thing in New South Wales or whatever. Like that kind of threw people off, because that story was all over the place. And so I think policing in general around the issues that pertain to this particular conflict that's arisen within our communities in Australia because of what's happening in Israel, the policing and the government response has been a bit perplexing at times. They've not been very concise or clear on their positions, and sometimes they've gotten a bit carried away with how they approach things for whatever reason. I don't know if it's politics, I don't know if it's just this incompetence. And they're just being very careful. They're just being very careful not to, point fingers without 100%, conclusively, something they wouldn't do for anything else. You know what I mean? Normally they wouldn't do it for any other thing.
I'm not giving him that much credit. I suspect that it's not that they don't want to make a statement without conclusive evidence. It's that they're afraid that if it leads to where it likely is, just because of what this conflict, who this conflict involves, then it's going to spark something much greater. And it's a problem we see repeated all over the world. It's the fear of not telling the truth about this story, because we've let in ideologies that really are potentially dangerous, and there's a threat there that they don't want to talk about. They want to avoid highlighting because of the dangerous nature, and all that does is if you avoid dealing with it head on, it's just going to fester and get worse. I think while we wait, we could do two things. We can quickly watch when Albanese visited the site, and I visited Albanese, and then we'll go into just opening what we know from the media releases prior to them starting their press release in about 12 minutes. So let's watch Albanese.
Are you going to be taking questions, Prime Minister? Or is this just a photo op between tennis games?
This is the 5 days after.
Have you been for Rebel News outside the Adass Israel Synagogue? I don't know what's wrong with this lot. Anyways, we're all here because
I need one of those.
The holiest man of the country is about to arrive, the Prime Minister. We're here to find out if he thinks he can really buy the Australian Jewish community votes with $32 million. Let's find out.
Watch out! Watch out behind you, please. Need a bit of room there.
The Australian Prime Minister has just arrived at the synagogue. Are you going to be taking questions, Prime Minister? Or is this just a photo op between tennis games? Prime Minister, was there a reason why they kept this press conference so quiet? Are they taking questions?
After.
Okay. So the Prime Minister has gone into the synagogue to, I guess, assess the damage with community leaders. And Josh Burns, who I'm glad to report, is wearing a kippah today. His girlfriend is unknown at the moment where she is, but probably on Instagram Live talking about Jews. How was the kiddush I wasn't invited to?
Shame on you for not coming. You should have been there.
Where was it? You didn't tell me where it was.
I undisclosed location. Undisclosed location. We're scared we're going to be attacked again.
Are you going to have another child that I can actually come to?
Are you going to come to another one?
You missed out on the kiddush. You missed the kiddush. Where were you? You said you're coming.
He promised me an invite.
You confirmed to come. We'll talk about it.
I'll come. Are you going to have another kid?
You're going to come to that one as well.
He thinks I'm the Mossad.
I'm going to now meet with the community leaders to discuss practical steps forward, but I thank them for the welcome here today. Thank you.
Are you not taking questions because you're worried? Are you worried about the communities? Prime Minister, are you worried to take questions because you saw what happened to Jacinta Allen? Are you scared of answering the tough questions? Yesterday was the first time you didn't conflate anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Is that because you recognise that a lot of the hate is from the Muslim community?
Prime Minister, if the perpetrators are here on visas, will you seek to throw them out?
Now! Off the car!
Why is the Prime Minister such a coward? Does he pay you to protect his cowardice? Not one question, because the Prime Minister saw what happened to Jacinta Allen right here when she came. There's a reason why the opposition leader took...
So yeah, that was. I don't think we need to watch the end of that. That was that was the day, 5 days after the attack, and I remember he was getting a lot of criticism. A couple of my little jibes there was about him being at the tennis game because apparently that was more important then coming to visit the Jewish community. They were all coming there for photo ops at the time, but it has taken this long to get anything.
Well,
In fact,
makes me wonder, actually, to be honest, when I'm just seeing Albanese there and all the political, fallout from what happened during that time. Has this been timed for after the election? I mean, I don't know. I'm just obviously speculating here. We don't know yet what the police are going to talk about, but how long have they had this footage? So you got this footage from where this was sent to you?
This is from the Victoria Police in the
press kit today.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have a look at it.
Let me try bring it into a full screen.
And we haven't seen this footage at all till today, right?
No, this is brand new footage that was just released of the moments before. I'll pull her up, and I might also just pull up in a second. Let's just review this together. I was playing it in the intro. Here we go. There we go. So here you can see. Is that the car they're alleging? So the synagogue is on the right-hand side there. Yep, so it is that car, and it's...
Oh, that's the side of the synagogue, isn't it?
That's the... well, it depends what you
Is
call
this the main end?
Yeah,
okay. Because I know it goes around the corner block.
It's the part that got burnt. Yeah, it's not around the corner. That was the front. Yeah, so you got that's the railway station on the right, so Ripponlea station. So they're doing the laps.
They're like casing
it out. Yeah, just making sure no one was there. But there was 2 people in there at the time. And for those that made the content, those that perpetuated and amplified the conspiracy that those Jews who touched the door did it to themselves, well, here is definitive evidence that they didn't. But we already knew that.
I mean, that was a ridiculous conspiracy.
Oh, it was insane.
That was just the height of ridiculousness. So if you go back a little bit, you just kind of jump to that part.
Hold on. We'll just watch that.
So they've parked the car obviously there, and then they've got another. They're taking the car back around to the other side now. Okay, and they got to jump to the next camera. They've gotten out and opened the boot.
They've got an axe. You can see an axe. Look, they're passing the axe. They're going to smash through. They've got petrol jerry cans. He's smashing.
One jerry can there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these people came prepared to do this. This was not.
The one of them's filming it. Did you see that?
Yeah.
One of them was filming it. Like these guys.
So they're pouring the accelerant into the building. They've smashed something open. And they've actually bought more. Like in the back of the boot there, you can see multiple jerry cans.
There's 2 more jerry cans there.
So this was premeditated, planned out, and they came to do damage. Was that like 4 cans?
Yeah, they look like I bought a fair bit. $1.95 a litre. So. Yes.
They're not just pouring it from outside the building. They've gone inside the premises and spread it around.
He sparked it. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Surprised he wasn't caught alive. That went hard at the start.
Wow. There you have that. Okay, so let's now see what we're being told so far prior to the press release. I'm sure that to the press conference, which should start in a couple of minutes. We'll keep watching to make sure. So So let's go to just... I saw that it was already being reported. I'll just try to pull it up. Let's just see what they are saying here. So what do we... this is the report on it.
That's from the Herald Sun.
Yeah, I have the actual press releases, but what I found interesting is that the Herald Sun was earlier reporting, so I just want to see that if they did say that there were multiple arrests, but hopefully in a few minutes we'll understand where they got that from, because I didn't really
see it in the press statement.
No, did you read the press statement? I sent you the press statement, didn't I?
Yeah, I didn't specifically see that. So what I figured was there's another suspicious fire.
Yep.
And the Herald Sun at least has made a link, at least, or they suspect there's a link between the two somehow. So that might be how they've kind of gotten onto that. The police might allege perhaps that these people were I'm not sure. Again, best just wait for the police press conference.
Yeah, but, it's interesting because the Herald Sun went one way with it. We want to know. I'm just reading the press.
We'll pull up the Herald Sun article anyway. Maybe just have a quick read of it just to give people a bit of context in terms of what they're saying.
So that's the footage we just watched.
So dramatic new footage has emerged of the moment the Adass Israel Synagogue was torched in a terrorist attack last year. Detectives on Thursday released vision of the act from December 6 last year following the arrest of two men in relation to a firebombing attack at the Lux Nightclub. So the Lux Nightclub is another nightclub, I believe, a nightclub in South Yarra. It is believed the same blue Volkswagen was used at both. Police believe the same blue Volkswagen was used at both of those crimes. So that's the link.
Yeah.
So they've linked the car to a firebombing at the Lux Nightclub and this particular firebombing through the car where the police believe it's the same vehicle. And of course, there's a firebombing at the, again, allegations, but there's a firebombing at a nightclub. There's a firebombing at the synagogue. Same car is there. We saw in that CCTV footage what these individuals are doing with that car. They came prepared. They had multiple jerry cans. They had access to break open the doors. And they did it very, effectively for the crime that they committed. So I guess the police got to make that link between the two. It's not a coincidence that the same vehicle would appear at two firebombing and not be related, right? So we can infer from that as much as we can at the very moment until we hear from the police. But yeah, I mean, if I saw the same vehicle at two firebombings, I would say they're definitely linked. I don't know if that links the individuals that were using that vehicle, but they're definitely linked.
Yeah.
Was there anything else in that article, or was that
I'll keep scrolling. I just want to pull up.
Yeah.
Make sure that I don't miss when the live stream starts. So I'm just going to pull it up on another screen. I'm just trying to see where they say that there was arrest. So maybe with regards to the
other nightclub, I believe.
There was.
Yeah. Counterterrorism police have released the footage with the hopes the public may be able to identify the offenders. The Victorian Joint Counterterrorism Team is today releasing images of those believed responsible for the Adass Israel Synagogue arson attack and other serious crimes. In Victoria statement read, the individuals fled the synagogue shortly after and drove away in a Golf towards the western suburbs. Volkswagen Golf and the western suburbs. I don't know if that gives people any clues. The Golf is a stolen car that was...
Oh, here we go. Yep, go on.
The Golf is a stolen car that was also used in other offences before synagogue's arson, including the Lux Nightclub arson in South Yarra in November 2024, and an arson and shooting that occurred in Bandura on the same night as the synagogue arson attack. 2 Pakenham men were arrested in pre-dawn raids on Thursday morning in relation to the fire at the Chapel Street venue. They will be interviewed by Victoria Police Arson Squad on Thursday. So this is all kind of unfolding, I think, where the police are giving us as it's happening. So in terms of the arrest, I think they've had a kind of a breakthrough. And if that same car on the night of the synagogue bombing was also involved in a shooting, they were saying in which area? In Bandura. So that same vehicle involved in the shooting in Bandura on the night of the synagogue attack, but also back in November 2024, that vehicle was involved. So it's a month before the synagogue attack, was involved in a firebombing at the Lux Nightclub on Chapel Street in South Yarra. So again, there's many links there that are kind of very obvious. Someone who's not a detective just looking at this. So I think that's kind of what they're going to put forward to the public.
I'm just trying to pull up, see if there's... It's not live on their thing yet. It should. It says it's going to be live streamed, and
the time that they had given was 2:00, right? I mean, they're pretty prompt.
So I'm not seeing it yet. They're not. There's no feed coming from them, and nor is the ABC running anything yet. So I might just keep an eye on that. Take a look to see if you can find it, and if somebody else is running it. But I'm pretty sure it's.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a major thing. ABC will definitely be running it. So
ABC
just so viewers know, we have a direct link.
Yeah, I have
live link from direct link from the police for their press conference. So that's kind of what we're going to try to run. So, if you haven't seen this anyway, I mean, this is kind of breaking news as it happens, especially if we're kind of trying to find our feet as well with what we're talking about. Yeah. Maybe we can bring up some super chats while we wait, Avi.
If there are super chats, I'll check. I'm just trying to. I don't want to miss it.
No, I'll tell you, I've got ABC turned on as well, so I'm keeping an eye on our public broadcaster. See what they bring.
We'll run it while we're running that, guys. If there are super chats in the meantime, I will go through super chats. That's through our YouTube channels. Yeah, we've got one super chat I can see here. Don't know how it's going to display because we've got that message there. Oh, there we go. Oh, yep. Maybe I'll bring it up there. A Volkswagen, ironic or a deliberate message? Catherine, thanks for the super chat. I get what you're saying because the Volkswagen is a German car. That's the insinuation here. I think it's probably just a coincidence. But who knows these days? Weirder things have happened. Oh, here we go.
Chuck it on.
Yep. 1 second. I'm just going to pull it from AB. Let's see if it... Yep, here we go.
Following that, we established the blue VW Golf was then used in a number of serious and violent crimes, including a shooting in Bandura, as well as aggravated burglaries and petrol drive-offs in suburbs right across Melbourne, including Brunswick, Cranbourne North, Caulfield South and Hampton. This car was then seized by police in December last year from a residential street in Melton, and further inquiries revealed it was fitted with cloned plates. Police believe this car was used as what I would describe as a communal crime car and has been driven to a number of locations committing serious offences. It's possible the car was used by several different people and groups to commit these crimes over the November and December last year period. This morning, detectives from the Arson and Explosives Squad have arrested 2 people in Pakenham in relation to the Lux Nightclub fire on Chapel Street in November last year. A 22 and 23-year-old men, both from Pakenham, are being interviewed by police and I believe will be shortly fronted before court. We know the blue VW Golf sedan was used during the incident and the same vehicle subsequently used during the synagogue arson. It's important to note that there's nothing at this time to indicate the 2 men we've arrested today were directly involved in the synagogue fire. However, we're hoping the arrests today will potentially provide some avenues of inquiry for our JCTT investigations. Equally important for the community to understand equally important for the community to understand is the Lux Nightclub arson is not being investigated as a politically motivated crime. It is being managed by the Crime Command. This brings me to the arson attack at the synagogue in Glenora Avenue, Ripponlea, on the 6th of December 2024. Since that time, police have been investigating this incident and have been extremely active, with investigators pursuing many lines of inquiry. Over the past 6 months, investigators have painstakingly collected CCTV from more than 1,400 locations to identify and track the actions of the alleged offenders. Today, for the first time, we'll be releasing some of that footage. The footage we're releasing shows the blue VW Golf sedan driving past the synagogue multiple times before parking outside the main entrance on the 6th of December. 3 individuals dressed in hoodies and masks getting out of the vehicle and using an axe to damage the entrance of the synagogue. At least 2 individuals pouring the contents of jerry cans in the doorway of the synagogue. Individuals making multiple trips to the Gulf to get more jerry cans, which were poured inside the synagogue before the liquid was ignited. And one offender wearing a distinctive white face mask and filming the arson on his mobile phone. If you know anything about this crime, we want to hear from you. If you know anything about the blue VW Golf sedan, we want you to tell us what you know. If you know the identity of the people depicted in the footage, or you're one of the people in the footage, we'd like you to contact us. We're also asking the public for any dashcam footage of between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. on the 6th of December that captures the blue VW Golf sedan. In particular, we're requesting footage travelling to the city from the northern suburbs using CityLink before 3:30 a.m. that morning, or travelling outbound on the Westgate or Western Ring Road after 4:30 a.m. We're also seeking information about the purchase of 5 red 20-litre fuel jerry cans from a Bunnings warehouse store, and the purchase of 100 litres of petrol just before the 6th of December.
100 litres?
Police believe this is something that would have stood out to people and quite unusual for any witnesses, and we're keen to speak to anybody who has further information about this. I want to reassure Victorians, particularly those in the Jewish community, we will remain fully committed to finding those responsible for this act, this crime, and holding those offenders to account. This was a deliberate act which left people across the Victorian community feeling shocked, saddened, and rightly concerned. I understand it can be difficult when these matters take time to investigate, but make no mistake, this investigation remains a key priority for both Victoria Police and the Australian Federal Police, and we were dedicated to bringing it to a successful conclusion as soon as possible. I'll now hand over to Assistant Commissioner Stephen Nutt from the AFP.
Thank you, AC Walsh. Good afternoon, everyone. As introduced, I'm Stephen Nutt, the Assistant Commissioner for Counter-Terrorism and Special Investigations in the AFP. Today I'll provide some updates on the Victorian Joint Counter-Terrorism Team investigation into the Adass Israel Synagogue attack. Today the JCTT will also release, as already mentioned, the CCTV footage showing some critical moments of the crime. This investigation remains a terrorism investigation. We will continue to investigate it as a politically motivated attack on the Jewish community. This arson was an anti-Semitic crime. To set alight a synagogue is to strike at the heart of the Jewish community. But if the purpose of this arson was to weaken the resolve of the Jewish community, my observation is it hasn't worked. In fact, what I've witnessed in the last few months is the opposite. I see a resilient Jewish community who stare down hatred and stand up for their values and beliefs. And on the CCTV footage we're releasing today, you will see the opposite. Cowards who cover their faces, who carry out an attack on a place of worship. Operation Hillfield is the name of the investigation. It's complex and lengthy, as AC Walsh has already described. There will be questions we will not be able to answer today, so we can protect the evidence we have. I know many Australians want answers, and some of these will come out, but our priority at this stage is firmly focused on bringing these individuals before the court. What we can say is that we believe the individuals are responsible for the synagogue arson attack are also involved in other serious criminal activity in Victoria. As we've stated, the blue VW Golf sedan has been used in the Adass Synagogue arson attack, the Lux Nightclub arson in South Yarra in November 2024, and the shooting and arson at Bundoora on the same night as the synagogue arson attack on the 6th of December 2024. But again, I want to be very clear. We do not believe the shooting and the nightclub arson are politically motivated. Those crimes are not under the investigation by the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team. They are investigated by Victoria Police. So to be clear, only the synagogue arson is being investigated as a politically motivated crime. Based on our information, we believe some of the individuals involved are extremely violent. The blue VW Golf sedan was used to drive to all three locations to commit the three crimes that I've mentioned, and AC Walsh has mentioned others. The Golf was recovered by police in December last year at a residential street in Melton, Victoria. Investigators have painstakingly identified and analysed CCTV footage collected from more than 1,400 locations to identify and track the actions of the offenders. What this highlights is that we have a zero tolerance on anti-Semitism, and we will use all of our resources and capabilities to bring the offenders to the court. Today, we'll be releasing some of that footage for the first time. The public is asked to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000 or the National Security Hotline on 1800 123 400 if they recognise or have knowledge of the individuals in the images or know anyone who has had access to the stolen car, the VW Golf, around those dates or those dates of those offences. For the offenders out there, I remind you that the penalty for terrorism is life imprisonment. It's just a matter of time before police knock on your door. It is in your interests to come forward now. To the family and friends of these offenders, you know or suspect what they have done. They do not deserve your protection for what they have done to our community. Also, you will know if you have used that VW Blue Golf. You may now be forensically linked to a terrorism investigation. Please come forward now, explain what you know. This is not a normal crime, and this is why it is being investigated by the Joint Counter-Terrorism Team with the full force and capability of the Victoria Police, the Australian Federal Police and ASIO. Do not stay silent, come forward. The JCTT is leaving no stone unturned in this investigation, and I really want to thank the Jewish community for their assistance and their patience. We also thank the Victorian community for their assistance through the provision of the CCTV and information to the investigation today. Thank you. Now open up for questions. We've already outlined that we had a painstaking collection of CCTV and we want to have a complete picture and to give an update to the community. Again, we wanted to have an extensive collection of the evidence available and also track where the vehicle and therefore the offenders went across Melbourne.
With regards to the synagogue fire, do police believe it was commissioned, and if so, do you think it was coming from overseas?
We're not going to make any comment on that at this time. Part of the ongoing investigation. The focus of today is obviously the release of the CCTV footage and the seek of information from the public.
So at this stage, though, have you ruled out a hostile foreign actor or an extremist group commissioning the synagogue attack?
Thank you. What I can say is that we have no evidence of a state actor involvement or terrorist organisation being involved in this offence.
How many persons of interest do you have?
We have a new... Sorry, Tess. We have a number of persons of interest. We've obviously got the 3 that have carried out the actual attack. As AC Walsh, there are other individuals in supporting those 3 through the acquisition of petrol and jerry cans. So there's a broad number of individuals.
Is there a possibility that the 2 people that were arrested from Pakenham may potentially, while being directly linked to the synagogue fire, could know who they are?
There's every chance they could know who they are. The use of the car by a group of we've called it a communal crime car. Clearly, over the period of time across when it was stolen late November and it was stolen early November through to when it was recovered in December. It's been used by a range of different groups and individuals, so in various different crimes. So what we're saying is that there could be links. At the moment, the Lux Nightclub, the 2 arrested for the Lux Nightclub, there's no evidence to suggest that they're responsible for the synagogue fire.
But can I just add on there, as I mentioned in my opening statement, however, those individuals who've used that car could be forensically linked to a terrorist organisation, so it's in their best interest to come forward with what they know about that vehicle and others who've used that vehicle.
So the car is the common theme. The JCTT, under the Counter-Terrorism Command and AFP, are investigating the synagogue fire. The Lux nightclub fire is being investigated and has been resolved today with some arrests by our crime command and members of the Arson and Explosives Squad. So early days we were very open about the possibility that they may well be together, they may well be investigated together, but the links were exclusive to the car at this point in time.
Have you so far been able to question those 2 individuals associated with the Lux Nightclub about any links to what happened at Adass?
So they were interviewed today, and given they're before the court, we probably won't make any further comment on that. I'm not sure of the outcome of the interviews. So at the moment.
Is the use of the communal crime car, is this a common thing, given that these are particularly serious incidents?
It's fairly new. I've been in crime for many years, and this sort of usage of a vehicle is relatively new, but not unknown.
Was the Melton address of any assistance? Was the Melton address of any assistance to you?
No.
On the use of the car, is it understood that the person who might have been directing its use could be linked to all of these particular crimes, or is it the car merely passed from one group to another? Help us understand how that happens.
I can add, as I outlined earlier, there is a number of people as part of the investigation who have different roles. Obviously, the person who managed the car is a person of interest in the investigation, but that doesn't necessarily translate that they're involved directly into the arson attack. Again, the call out, if you use the car, it could be forensically linked to a terrorism investigation, you need to come forward and explain what you know.
Does the people in the CCTV, the Lux Nightclub and the CCTV in the synagogue fire, are there any similarities? Is there a potential that it could be the same individuals in the CCTV for Lux Nightclub and for the synagogue fire?
At the moment, we have them as separate individuals, separate, and they've been investigated separately. If we were to make a link, then we would have brought them together and investigated them together.
It is very bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few things that are.
It's difficult to put an age or any other descriptor on them. People will make their own assumptions. They are carrying 20-litre fuel cans with.
What does that mean?
So that I guess in and of itself would lend itself to perhaps a younger person, but we just don't know. That's we're just speculating.
Really? Mm-hmm. The timeline's a bit concerning because they're asking for CCTV footage now, or dash cam footage from people.
We can see that there's no crossover between the Lux Nightclub and also the synagogue arson attack. The only link at this particular juncture on the investigation is the vehicle. We obviously keep an open mind, and we're working closely, as AC Walsh has already said, with the Arson Investigation Squad for any link, but at this stage the only link is the vehicle.
Same car, different individuals. Is there then a chance, considering it appears that this vehicle is used by multiple individuals, that there's maybe a common theme in terms of organisation or group?
I guess we're open to that. We're open to that, yeah.
That person of interest who may be managing the car,
Can't really hear them. It's
the press questions. You can never hear what they're asking.
What I can say is that those who use the car are criminal associates.
Fair enough. I was saying the dash cam footage, like they're asking for people for dash cam footage, but it's like 6 months ago.
6 months ago at that time.
It's crazy. Like, then they've had this footage for how long?
Yeah.
Given the range of offences and the volume of offences, certainly leading up to Lux Nightclub, 4 or 5 petrol thefts and aggravated burglaries. This car's been on high rotation for a range of serious crimes, including the Bandura one, not long prior to the attack.
Interesting to me that they don't want to reveal the ethnicity of who they have.
Even the guys from Pakenham.
I can say that from a national security perspective, the AFP's been on record, the Commissioner of the AFP's on record around crime as a service. This is something that we're always mindful of. I wouldn't go as far as that in this investigation. This is very much an open line of inquiry, and again, the focus is on the individuals who are carrying out the attack.
Somebody needs to tell them to stand closer to the mic.
We certainly know of one of the original users of the car, and I guess that's what we're proposing is that he potentially is somebody that has managed the use of the car.
Is he still in Victoria?
At this stage, we won't comment on that aspect of the investigation. Obviously, we're focusing today on the release of the footage and the call from assistance.
So clearly that's getting really close to the investigation, which is incredibly active, and we don't want to speak about individual persons of interest in the investigation.
So at this stage, have police ruled out involvement from neo-Nazis or other extremist groups in the synagogue fire?
There's no indication of that motivation.
So you're not this remain a terrorism investigation?
As I said in my statement, yes, this is remaining as a terrorism investigation, and we're treating it as politically motivated, yes.
In the days after the attack, the Premier said that this
Of course, we're looking at all aspects of the investigations, all those involved, and I've already mentioned that there's a number of individuals that are involved in assisting the 3 persons that carried out the attack, so we're keeping an open mind on that aspect of the investigation. And I know you had a question.
Like the people that paid him to do it. It's clearly a criminal contract.
Yeah.
Or I highly suspect it's a criminal contract. If the same car was used in 3 different attacks on the same night, unrelated,
This is one of
all
This
criminal.
stage, we have not determined
Yeah.
that this is a terrorist act. That remains a key aspect of the investigation.
Just with regards to the Lux Nightclub specifically here, at this stage, do you believe that that's related to a series of fires and properties owned by the Comanchero bikie gang, of which there have been a few in Melbourne in the last 12 months?
I guess that's going to be an avenue of inquiry. There's no secret Victoria have experienced a significant range of arson attacks over particularly the last probably 18 months, and that would be one of the lines of inquiry. What I can say in terms of those arson attacks is that they're being investigated separate to this investigation. They're being investigated by the Crime Command, and a balance between the Arson and Explosives Squad and also Task Force Luna.
You can't say much about the manager because you don't want to get too close to the investigation. You can't really much about the manager of the car. But if you've got that information, you then potentially provide information about the suspects. Why then have you released the CCTV on top of that?
We're not going to go into those aspects of the investigation strategies. Again, it was a key point of time in the investigation to give an update of where we're at, but also use the opportunity of the CCTV footage to seek assistance from the public in that regard.
So you had the choice between going there and trying to ask questions, but it doesn't sound like they're answering much, or
They're not answering anything, yeah.
or sit here and basically unpack it. The only
Yeah.
thing that would be beneficial being there is actually hearing the questions.
These press conferences, and they never consider the journalists.
The usage of the car is in criminal enterprise is quite significant. It's not unheard of, as I said, but it's quite nuanced in this investigation because they are different types of crime, from petrol theft through to these violent arson attacks.
And I just want to clarify there, we said we're investigating as terrorism, but we have not determined that it's a terrorist attack. You use that term. I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh, that's interesting.
So several hours prior to the synagogue attack, the car was sighted at an address in Bundoora, whereby a number of shots were fired towards the house, and a vehicle in the driveway at Bundoora was set on fire shortly after the car left the scene, and then turned up several hours later at the synagogue. It's possible, but we just need to keep an open mind about the number of people that have been through that car.
You mentioned at the synagogue one of the suspects took a video recording of what happened. Have you seen that footage? Have you seen evidence of it being distributed online? And can you speculate perhaps, or maybe entertain a reasonable logic why somebody would record that?
If I did that, it would be purely speculation, of course. You can see that the person is videoing the attack. We probably don't want to make any more comment other than it is a methodology, and we don't want to go into that in relation to this particular occurrence.
That is an interesting fact that we picked up on, that he was filming. It's either a criminal just... a young criminal
obviously
to
we
upload his
clarified
work?
as part of our investigation, so the seizure is part of the investigation.
Here, that one. Or he's like they're celebrating their handiwork, proof that they did
I
it.
think it's proof that they did it for whoever set them to do this, because it feels like
we do know that there's scalable offending here, and you can hear our plea to the people that might.
They clearly didn't realise the shitstorm they were about to set off. I don't think you needed the proof.
It feels like they had multiple jobs that night. Yeah, that they were completing. And this whole communal crime car thing that I'm sure the media's going to keep using that term. You know, obviously it's organised crime. They've got cars available. They give it to these individuals who are doing the jobs.
Really open-minded about that, yes.
It's a car share for criminals.
Yes, Uber for criminals, and that's why it's, I think, confusing the police a little bit, because obviously there's a lot of crossover with other crimes, but those people might not necessarily know who these individuals are, or might not disclose that. But I think the guy that's, if they got the person that's supplying the vehicle, he's almost as guilty in a way. The guy that's actually supplying the vehicle to commit these crimes. I mean, the book should be thrown at that guy. I don't know why,
100%.
if they know who that person is.
But we want to know who commissioned this. That's who really matters, even more than these three people. Who commissioned this?
Of course, yes.
Look, I acknowledge the frustration. We all, everybody wishes these investigations took more time, but you can see the way the investigation has had to be managed. This is not a single investigation into a single occurrence. The use of the cars led us to multiple different crimes, and they all take time to investigate and manage properly. So the timing of our operation, the timing of today has been an important part of that. I can say we can acknowledge the Jewish community's patience in terms of having a result. What I can say to the Victorian community, the Australian community and the Jewish community is that we remain really determined and pretty positive about getting a successful resolution to this crime, and it's our intention to hold the offenders to account.
Can I just circle back? So you haven't seen the footage that one of the suspects recorded at the synagogue?
We weren't making comment on that, but we do note that that's what appears to occur on the footage we've released today. I just will actually take the opportunity, based on your question around the Jewish community engagement, on the 9th of December, shortly after the Adass Israel Synagogue arson, we established Special Operation Avalite. Special Operation Avalite is focusing on anti-Semitism in Australia. We've been conducting that operation jointly with ASIO, working very closely with our state and territory partners as well. We've charged 7 people under that operation. We have 25 ongoing operations as well. It's of benefit to the community, and we've been engaging with the Jewish community on this. We are looking at those prolific anti-Semites, those who unfairly and unlawfully target the Jewish community in Australia, and we encourage the public, where they see anti-Semitism in this form, contact the National Security Hotline or contact the AFP, and we'll investigate.
So to clarify, could either of these firebombings have been related to the ongoing tobacco wars in Victoria, or potentially directed by cars come up?
We're not making any comments on any individuals at this stage. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Lucky these, in a way, that these guys didn't kill anyone, because it sounds like the police are still struggling, even though they've gotten this far in the investigation. There are a lot of areas where they're struggling, and one of the biggest questions that I have in my mind after seeing all of that is, why are we only seeing this CCTV footage now? I think the moment the police had possession of this car, I don't think releasing this footage to the public at that moment would have interfered with their investigation whatsoever, because 6 months after the fact, seeing this footage, asking members of the public to help remember something from 6 months ago, dash cam footage, all this kind of stuff, makes no sense. 6 months allows these people, obviously time to get out of the country, whatever, right? So it's a long period of time. Usually,
seems sloppy, this whole story.
Seems a bit sloppy, because if you have the CCTV footage, like, that is what you want to get out into the public, and especially just to alleviate the tension within the community as well.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to jeopardize the investigation, but I don't see anything in that CCTV footage that would have jeopardized anything, because they don't have any discernible information from the footage besides the car. So when they had possession of the car, they were saying a few months ago, well, that would have been the apt time to release that footage to the public for more assistance. But, you know, like maybe the crossover between other crimes, maybe they had to kind of clear out all the other crimes and go through a whole list of crimes where the Uber for hire for criminals was being used in other multiple attacks. And when you hear communal crime car and it's potentially organized crime, usually these crime groups, you know, there's no crossover between not always, the racial groups and the crime groups sometimes. So, you know, it's potentially within the same community group. So that's why I think it's important to know the identities of the two individuals that have been arrested for the alleged firebombing at Lux.
It always strikes me as odd when they're protecting the ethnicity or anything about who they allege is a part of the crime. Now, there could be a few reasons why, like they could be working those two to get the other information in the hope that they offer them a deal or whatever, and they try to protect their identity. But too often in these cases, it comes back to what I was alluding to before, where they're trying to protect the identity because they don't want anyone to either read something true into it or read anything into it, like whether it is just by coincidence, it happens to be somebody who, when you look at his social media, is full of pro-Palestine stuff or pro-anti-Israel stuff, and you jump to that conclusion, you go, oh, you see, that community, there is a problem. Hey, there's probably a few reasons, but I think in these cases, especially like you just said, the Jewish community has been stressed out about this issue for several reasons, and they compound it. Firstly, just the incident itself. And then, like we were talking about before, where suddenly online, because the police didn't have anyone, any suspects for it, and in many of these other high-profile cases, even since then, they've managed to arrest people much faster. So it allowed the conspiracy theory to rise and gain momentum that it may have just been the Jews doing it to themselves to garner sympathy, and that has been, and I've been bizarrely placed into that conspiracy when we were talking about before we watched this, where they showed the video that I happened to have in my report, which is crazy in itself because that video was online. It was viral before I even picked it up. But the point is, because police are working under such secrecy and they're not being upfront at each point in the road, that they're not. The public are jumping to conclusions, and the people that are suffering are actually the victims of the crime, the community that has been targeted.
The community, I don't even think they said. I can't remember, Ravi. I don't even think they said. Not show the CCTV footage. I don't even think they said that we have 3 people that attacked the building. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong.
No. So we
did?
No. So what happened was originally it was 2, and then it was 3 because remember there was a CCTV that came out from inside the synagogue.
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't released by police. It was released. I think it was Sherry Markson from Sky News got her hands on it, and you could see it was 3 people. So it changed to 3 people.
Okay.
But,
it's a long time ago. My memory.
It's so long ago,
as well. That's what I mean.
Yeah. It's so long ago, and I think today what we have. This is what I've taken away from the press conference. And guys, you can get involved in the super chats on YouTube. We'll keep this live stream going for probably another 15 minutes unpacking it, and then we'll see you on tonight's shows in the same place. Make sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe, whatever channel you're watching this on, to ensure that you get the notifications when we do go live. We will hopefully be a bit smoother in more breaking news, but I thought that was pretty good for a first time. But what we understand now from police is, I don't know, they must have had this CCTV from the beginning, by the way, that the car with the 3 people, it was caught pretty clearly. One was filming. There was 2 other crimes committed with that car. It sounds like it was not the same people. And they don't know if there's any real connection between them, which is, I don't know how much of it is police work, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they might have been able to eliminate the others, like through alibis or whatever. Like they might have been able to place them, the other 2 people for that day, and that's why they haven't directly gone after them for this particular incident. So I think that's why they must know for sure that it wasn't those individuals. But what we don't know as a public yet is what those people actually really know about the other people who are getting this car as well. So they might know who it is. We never know. And they're keeping that from the public, the police, not the police, I'm saying the other criminals or the alleged criminals that were suspected in the other fire.
Yeah.
They might know who these individuals are. Like normally within these kind of community communities where you're borrowing cars to commit crimes, there is an overlap between, this, you have contacts and, these people know these people and you kind of know. And then, like there is that possibility that people are being protected by these individuals who have been arrested, and the police might be able to get that evidence out of them through interrogation. Who knows? But what's interesting is, Avi, obviously they're filming the attack. We heard that same day that they had done an attack and a shooting in Bandura. So these are people who clearly are prepared to, kill people, shoot people, whatever. So as a criminal act, they see nothing wrong with going to a synagogue and setting it on fire. I mean, they would do just about anything they're told to do if they're willing to kill someone. So whether someone else, like we've been discussing, hired them for a politically motivated attack against the synagogue, and these three individuals, they might not like, whatever's happening, but they might themselves not have any kind of political ideas behind it. There's all that's kind of still up in the air. And I think that was an interesting point where the federal police person that was speaking said that they're investigating as an act of terror. They're not saying
they haven't
that
determined it because they haven't finished their investigation.
Yeah.
And another interesting thing that he said, which I'm sure strikes fear in the assailants who just got hired, because if it really just was a criminal group that get hired to do all these firebombings, targeting tobacco stores or whatever, they'll just think of it as another job. They get paid, whatever. If they do some time, they do some time. But what he said there, which was a threat directed at them, saying, you better come forward. I don't know why it would encourage someone to come forward, to be honest, because he goes, we're investigating it as a terrorist incident, and which can carry a life in prison sentence. I guess what he's trying to say there is you better come because otherwise we're going to go for the maximum penalty. But if you come now, I don't think it's even that. I think the warning shot from the police there is when they're saying we're going to investigate all people related to it. They're going to turn those people's lives upside down. I think they're going to just maybe you've committed other crimes, and because you're related to this somehow because of this car now, and we come looking for you first, we're going to find all this other crap on you. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're going to find all these other crimes and stuff you're involved in. So if you don't want your life ruined by this massive investigation we're doing as a, the specific powers they have, because when it's a terrorism investigation, there's more powers involved in terms of the way that they can, search, seize stuff. But also penalties. Penalties
involved as well. So
if you
firebomb, I think that's the threat.
Yeah, if you firebomb a tobacco store, you're going to get done for the criminal damage or whatever it is. But as soon as you throw a terrorism charge in there, so you've gone from something that carries maybe a 6-month sentence to something that suddenly carries lifetime imprisonment sentence. And you might be right, but he also might be talking to the people, surrounding the crime, involved, not directly, but just have information. Go, okay, I need to help myself here, because as we know, the criminal world, while they pretend to have all these codes of conduct, many of them don't practice their codes, and there'll be people in there that'll probably turn on them. So look, I'm giving police some sort of benefit of the doubt at this point. It's been slow and sad to see how slow they've been in dealing with this crime. And I know personally, I don't know, I think I told you, I don't know if I've ever said it on our show, but I got a bit of a shock when I personally received emails from somebody claiming to have committed this attack, taking credit for it, and saying he was claiming to be a white supremacist. I was taking credit for it. I didn't think it was real. I thought, if somebody's, what idiot, how dumb can you be to, send me the email?
I'll leave an email trail.
yeah, like even though they used a proton mail or whatever, but why would they do that if you just don't want? Like, why would you want to be caught? If you wanted to be caught, you would have, you know, you wouldn't have gone in balaclavas or whatever. But just to be, you know, cautious, I made sure to pass it on to the federal police because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to read in 6 months' time that they caught the guy and it happened to be the guy that emailed me. So I thought, you know what, I'll just pass it on. And I actually, I sent it with the message saying, I know it's probably nothing, but I just thought I'd share. Like I said, I'm sure it's probably just bullshit, but here. And they came to me within half an hour for, you know, to take a statement and to get the metadata from whatever they can scrape off my email.
Yeah.
And, you know, I sat there at the end of it and I said to the feds, like, the fact that you took my tip so seriously doesn't, like, so seriously, not like, all right, we'll get to you in a couple of days, but the fact that you came and got all the data, you know, you drove down to my area, got the data, like, you took it so seriously and with such urgency, it worries me. Because that means you don't have a real suspect. Because if you had a real suspect, even if you had to tick every box and go down every line of investigation, why would you jump at my one?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give at this point the police some faith. Will, you know, they've got something. They've certainly proven that it wasn't the Jews who did it to themselves. It was in one way or another.
Well, the conspiracy theorists will now change.
They paid the criminals.
Yeah.
Well, okay, no, all right. So hold on. It debunks that the guy that okay, you got to remember what the conspiracy was. It was that guy, this guy here. I'll bring him up so we can make sure that we're very clear on what the conspiracy actually was. Hold on. Yeah, you've messed up my computer making all these, hiding all these things for me. So the conspiracy was that this guy.
The only thing what upset me, this is from the police. We had a Tsula here around. Now my car was parked here. Suddenly from the far there,
pretty sure now it's not that
footage,
big flashlights, cramped.
So this
police,
footage,
stop.
This guy.
Now, who said it's police? They didn't wear yellow jacket. They wear black. They came with his big gun.
The conspiracy was that he was the one that probably committed it, and why was he there and whatever.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was trying to explain to people why he was there is because these guys take their faith seriously. Like that. What time was it? 4 or 5 in the morning.
4:30.
They're studying, you know, they're studying prayers, and then they got prayers, and then they go to work. This guy actually, you know, the Yumi Dips. He was the owner. He's Mr. Yumi. This is the guy. There was no way this guy was going and firebombing his own synagogue. Like the synagogue to these people is so important. It's a holy place of worship. And you know, on the day when we were standing around the side as they were bringing out people's religious artifacts, and we captured the sense of you know, the relief when they got their artifacts back that weren't destroyed. So you're telling me those people then went and burnt down their synagogue in which the Torah, there were several, like in the synagogue, so there's 2 synagogues, they got burnt. Like when that stuff happens, it's the worst thing to these people. And, you know, if you drop a Torah scroll on the ground, you're meant to fast for 40 days. You think these guys are burning it down? It was so obvious to anyone who didn't have hate in their heart.
I mean, the insinuation was, Avi, from, and a lot of this came from the right as well. The insinuation was that the Jews were doing this so they could put through these restrictions on free speech, that the Jews were burning their own synagogue so they could put restrictions on free speech. And that's why they burnt it down. This is stuff that people were saying online, like people on the right. The left were obviously, they didn't even care, but it was crazy. And now we can see from that guy's figure and his body shape that, you know, he's not the individual that's in the CCTV footage, clearly.
Maybe he was the
you know,
one
and of
filming.
course-
Maybe that was the footage we have. It was him filming.
I say all this in jest, of course, and it's shocking. And I think some of the comments that people are saying, Avi, like the fact that they had 100 liters of petrol, diesel, whatever it was, the jerry cans that they've purchased to get this. So where did they acquire that?
That's what the police were talking about. The police were saying,
yeah. Did you see this
anyone
happening?
who saw that amount of petrol being taken, because it must have been done in jerry cans, like that would be suspicious to come forward. So I hope it does lead to something. Let's read this super chat. We can look at if there's a couple of comments that you think are worth bringing up. Besides for the super chats, we'll bring them up. But before that, let's just bring up this super chat. So thank you. What is that?
Utenoob.
Utenoob.
Ute Benoob 2.0. Thanks for the super chat. From one of the world's most livable cities to this BS on your labour. So
I know. And we've just signed up
Victoria has descended. Melbourne has descended into a bit of a anarchist type of free for all when it comes to crime. And this is no different. That we have synagogues being burned down. It's all a part of the what is it? The sights and sounds of Melbourne now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. We'll follow that story closely. We're getting a couple of messages where some unfiltered from X basically says that the name is YouTube Noob. We just can't read. Appreciate it. Yeah, there's a few of them. Basically, YouTube Noob. We're getting a bunch of them. Everyone's hating on us for not being able to read that.
I know. Sorry. It's been a long morning.
Mate, this is what happens when you put two brown people in charge of English.
We can barely speak English. We're barely speaking English.
Yeah. Are you confident they're going to catch him?
I think they're closer. I think this is the closest they've been. I think they've, obviously putting pressure out there. I don't know how much the public's going to be able to help them like they want to. I mean, maybe someone might recall something now that they've seen this footage, and maybe something will come up. Obviously, they've canvassed the whole area, and they're saying they've got thousands and thousands of CCTV cameras in the area that they've gone through. And
they're talking. I think when they said that, they were talking about from the three. So that's across
altogether
3 sites.
Yeah, the 3 sites. Of course.
You have around in Ripponlea, then you have in South Yarra, and then the other one was in. What was the other one?
Bandura.
Bandura.
But I think the key here to all of this, someone speculating again, I think it is the communal car and the people that were involved in accessing it, and what they find from that, and this other fire. I think if these guys are appearing in court today or tomorrow, we should get their names right, unless they do a suppression order again. They love doing that in Victoria.
That's going to be interesting whether they do a suppression order again, because we've seen with these these anti-Semitic attacks or these, suspected terrorist attack, whatever it is, they have
names. They hide the names. They don't want us to know. They don't want us to know. Like, anyone else can commit crimes in Victoria, and you'll know their name. But when a certain group or certain people with a certain ideology commit crimes in this state, it's suppressed. We're not allowed to know. It's insane. I mean, that's crazy.
Tiago says, look for some guys without eyebrows. For a second, I thought he was having a crack at Joel Jamal.
Joel?
Okay, what we know is Joel Jamal is innocent of this crime.
He's innocent. His eyebrows are definitely there. But, I mean, that guy almost did get... That explosion that happened, when it was ignited, the initial kind of the firebomb, the blaze... They almost did get caught up in it, and you've seen a few videos online where they're bombing the vapes and the tobacco places. Some of them do get caught on fire. I mean, these aren't the smartest criminals going around. Some of these guys.
No.
Yeah.
And like I said before, I dare say that whoever was involved in this, if they really were not doing it from an ideological perspective, and it was just a criminal contract, they are crapping themselves, because they realise now they're up for some far more serious charges.
But this is why I think it's possible that these people would have been shipped off overseas.
Stu says eyebrow, not eyebrows. Thanks for the super chat. Is he referring to? Is he
Joel
referring
Jamal's
to
monobrow? Yeah. Now, I was going to say, if it was a larger criminal enterprise that's involved in hiring these people, they would, considering the other information that these individuals could divulge to the police, these people might have been shipped up overseas, back home or wherever they're from. If they're like got out somewhere else that they can be, they might already be out of the country. It's been so long, so we might not really even ever have answers. So it's all still up in the air, but we are a bit closer to, I guess, putting a lot of this to bed in terms of, I think whether the Jews was responsible or not, that's been conclusively, at least in a way that we can see on camera with this footage. The people that were
it's not going to stop. I can already see in the comments you got, so let's put him up here so he gets excited. Alluding to a Mossad. You don't have to read the whole thing, but it's essentially alluding to Mossad being a part of the operation. It's a low IQ take. Like the idea that you think the Mossad is hiring criminals to bomb synagogues. I'll tell you a few things that debunk that immediately. Firstly, anyone who's actually Jewish or in the know that if the point was to freak out the Jews because of the relationship with Israel or whatever, because of Zionism or whatever you think it is, well, that is almost the only synagogue in Melbourne you wouldn't target, because they're a non-Zionist synagogue. They are ultra-Orthodox. In fact, those of you that are pro-Palestine, when you point at Jews to make your argument, look, not all Jews support Zionism, you're pointing at maybe not these ones. These ones are not radical, and I think since October 7th, some Jews have shifted, but that is not a Zionist. They do not believe in the Zionist secular state of Israel. Like most ultra-Orthodox Jews, they believe that Israel shouldn't be under a secular government now. You have to wait till the Messiah. That's the whole argument. When you see the ultra-Orthodox ones, it's a spectrum. You have the ultra-Orthodox that rally with the pro-Palestinian, with Hamas against the Jews, because to them they believe in the idea so strongly that we cannot be in Israel, not because there's no historic ties to it. They agree on the historic ties. It's about the fact that according to the religious doctrine that they subscribe to, the interpretation is that you cannot have a Jewish government there until the Messiah comes. So one day, in their eyes, the Palestinians will be kicked out anyway. But this is not. So the idea that the Mossad didn't know the most basic thing that every Jew would know is just silly. And then what's the point? What's the end game? To create sympathy. There's so many easier ways to create sympathy. And what does the Mossad care if there's sympathy here?
Yeah,
and
I mean, these false flag allegations never go away. I mean, it comes up for everything.
Well,
Everything's
the false flag thing about the Mossad and creating drama for Jews around the world has historically been to scare them into traveling to Israel because they want more Jews to come to Israel, to make Aliyah, it's called. Now, again, the thing that debunks that is that the ultra-Orthodox Jews are not the ones that come there and kind of contribute to the state, because they're against a secular state, really. So if they were going to target any group of Jews to scare them into coming to Israel, they would most likely, and they wouldn't target this community because they're not going to Israel. They'll be targeting the Zionist community, the Zionist synagogues. 99% of the other synagogues. They picked the one synagogue that proves that all wrong, but proves it all. It just makes all those arguments silly, and if you're pushing that, it just shows your ignorance into the actual community and the Jewish world.
Yeah. But a last thing probably I want to say is that overall, when you look at this crime compared to the other crimes that these people have been involved in, firebombing a nightclub, trying to shoot someone up in Bandura and shooting up a house, the burning of a synagogue is distinct in the sense that it's not really a place that's linked at all to the criminal underworld in their circles. It's not a tobacco place. It's not a nightclub, or there's no kind of malice with some individual that they're trying to get even with. It's literally just a building where people go to worship, and it's a part of the Jewish community in that area of Victoria where there's a predominantly Jewish population. So in the sense of it, even if these individuals themselves were not politically motivated. Whoever organized it, there is an element that is undeniable, that it is politically motivated, that it is the act of domestic terrorism. The whole intention of bombing the place is to cause fear in the community. And when these perpetrators are found, I still, believe whatever kind of way they try to get out of it, I think the police have to be really forceful on the fact that this is an act of terror. Trying to massage this any other way, I think is hard to do, because it makes no sense whatsoever that people would just target a religious place just for the kicks of it all. even a criminal enterprise, doesn't matter if they're crooks. There has to be an intention behind doing it, and it does seem like it was to terrorize the population here in Victoria, of the Jewish community especially, but of course all Victorians, because we don't want this crap in our streets. We don't want this kind of Middle Eastern style. I'm seeing a lot in the comments, these feuds and stuff being fought in our streets, and synagogues and mosques being burnt and all this kind of crap. No one wants to see here in Australia, and it shouldn't be normalized, and definitely shouldn't be normalized by these criminals who are running amok in our city anyway, being hired or whatever they're doing to go to cause terror in our community. So, I definitely want to see the full force of the law being applied when these individuals are caught, because just based on that CCTV footage, what they're doing is not something that should be acceptable in our country whatsoever.
Stu says, thanks, RV and Ruski.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, Stu. It's RV. So many people call me RV because it's so Aussie. You got RV. And Ruski. Ruski's like a Russian. You're basically Putin is what he's saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate. And Tiago will end here. Says low IQ nearly blows themselves up. It's so true. And to be involved in that line of criminality, you have to be low IQ.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting. Hopefully we get full transparency at the end of it to understand, for example, what the purpose of filming it was. Was it for clout? Was it? I don't think it was for clout, because
it would have been online that same day.
It would have been online. And so it hasn't been published online. So I think you're right, your assessment, in the fact that it was just proof to the bosses of that the job was done. Guys, thanks for tuning in for this emergency live stream. Rukshan and I, we plan to do these emergency live streams as stories like these come out. Hopefully we make it roll smoothly. If you have any feedback on how we can make it better, so that when there is a breaking story, then instead of tuning into, let's say, ABC or one of the mainstream channels, we can do it here. We can get I actually have ABC running on the side so I can see what they're doing. And I think they tuned out of their press conference a lot earlier than us, and I guarantee that they weren't unpacking it in the way that we were, where we're looking at the whole story, the situation, and trying to work out what it means. So if you do support that, then make sure to hit the notification bells, get involved in the conversations on the super chats, and tune in tonight at 7 p.m. for our normal show. So every Tuesdays and Thursday at 7 p.m. we're going to do the opposition podcast. We have a good show coming up tonight. And then we will do emergency broadcasts as it happens. Sometimes they'll be a bit longer. Sometimes they'll be just a quick emergency broadcast. So to ensure that you actually get the update that it's happening, make sure you hit that. So subscribe and hit the notification bell on whatever platform you're on. I did on the mailing list. We did send out an email just now to invite people that are on the mailing list. We won't get a chance every time. Today we had notice about by an hour that there was something happening. Most emergency, urgent things, there is we don't have a lead up time. So it's just going to happen, and you're going to need that notification. But for now, I want to thank you all for joining us. Any last words, Rukshan? Where can people find you if you want to say?
Look, you guys, you can find me on my X at The Real Rukshan on YouTube and Facebook, or at www.realrukshan.com. Follow me on the socials, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys tonight with Avi on the Opposition Podcast.
Victoria Police, AFP, get the job done.